Syndicate is a secret, unappreciated masterpiece, the last glorious stand of a style of Assassin's Creed that is probably not ever coming back. And no, Mirage was not a return to form, it was shit. Forget that and go back to Assassin's Creed Syndicate, or pick it up for pennies if you never did. And I'll tell you why. Assassin's Creed Syndicate brought the series the closest it's ever come to the present day, and it made the wise choice of Victorian London as its setting. It's a place we're all familiar with, even if you've never stepped a foot inside Britain, or you're still on the way. You know old-timey London when you see it, and here it's a sprawling, grimy, and breathtakingly atmospheric playground, full of little details, from kids begging in the streets to the drunkards getting sloshed at the pubs. It's a world you can almost smell. And to this day, it's one of the best-looking games of the PS4 and Xbox One generation, even if it doesn't quite hit the same highs as Unity did, which, despite being a shitshow, it was a very beautiful shitshow. These days, Syndicate does look really good, and I didn't realize this right away, I just thought that it looked better than I remembered, but it's actually been given a PS5 and Xbox Series XS patch, which brings the frame rate up to what should really be the standard 60 FPS, and there's a 4K resolution boost too. Honestly, no BS, if it was released today in this condition, you'd be happy with it. But they also gave us the tools to use the city, to bend it to our will. And that tool is the Batman button. Yes, Ubisoft shamelessly lifted the grappling hook mechanic from the Arkham games, but made it their own. Now you don't have to clamber up a building to escape the guards. A tap of a button and you're at the top of a tower in just a couple of seconds. But London presented a different challenge. Wider streets for all those rich people with their horse and carriage wagons. The grappling hook solved this. Want to get across the super wide street, grapple hook and zip across. Easy. It didn't just change the traversal, it almost perfected it. It was the greatest innovation the series had until they binned it. Then there's the masterstroke that has, for whatever reason, not been replicated. The Frye twins. Two playable characters, two distinctive personalities and playstyles. You have Jacob, the charismatic thug who fights first, fights again, and asks whoever is still breathing if they'd like another scrap. And then maybe some questions. He's a lovable rogue, all about the gang life and building up his posse. And you have Evie, the master assassin, a quiet, deadly ghost who is the living embodiment of the old ways, stealth and deception. You can switch between the two of them at any time, choosing the right tool for the job. Each have their own specific abilities unique to them and their own missions that feed into the central story. They're real characters, and after 20 or so hours of running around with the troublesome twins, you do get attached, and that's without sacrificing 100 hours to grind through a skill tree just to feel competent. After the wet fart of Unity's romance plot, Syndicate was a welcome return to a proper story, tight focused, and genuinely fun to follow along. The Frye twins are brilliant, bouncing off one another with their sibling rivalry, a constant source of banter and character development. But aside from the twins, the supporting cast of characters is unbelievable. Quickly, name me 3 characters from Assassin's Creed Mirage. You can't. Name me 3 from Valhalla. You can't. Here we've got the Charles Dickens. You've got Charles Darwin mooching around trying to sell the science of evolution to the monkeys masquerading as man. Alexander Graham Bell shows up as the twins' Q branch, offering up some good mischievous fun while celebrating a national hero. And the villain, Crawford Starrick, a ruthless bastard with a smattering of charisma that makes you wonder if the Templars really are the bad guys or if they're just bad guys trying to do good. It's a story with charm, humor, and a clear and compelling goal. Even if the story gets fractured between the twins and their own individual goals. Jacob wants to live the thug life, taking on his ops. Evie wants to further the assassin's mission, but they all tie together in a coherent manner as you take back the city, one borough at a time. And that brings us to the almost final piece of the puzzle. The system that tied everything together without being a big bondage rope. It fell as you wanted it to. The gang warfare. This wasn't just a gimmick. You weren't just clearing icons off a map. You were building a street army. Taking over a borough isn't just a checklist, but it is a checklist. It's still a Ubisoft game, I'm not stupid, but it was presented as a hostile takeover that culminated in a nice big street fight. Your gang, the Rooks, are a constant visible presence in the world, offering passive advantages through various upgrades. Whether it's a little kid passing off some stolen loot, or a gang of the Mandams ready to roll up on the ops, horse and carriage drive-by style. It gave the open world a tangible sense of progression and purpose that has been completely lost in other games. It wasn't a grind, it was a conquest. And while it may not have been as satisfying as rebuilding Rome, it still held its own. Now, while I'm here singing Syndicate's praises, I've also got one minor but also quite major annoyance. The one thing that drives me up the wall, and to a point it kind of ruins the experience, but I've managed to overcome it and work around it and even tolerate it. I'm talking about the inconsistent frame rate. But not in the typical way, just in a very specific area of the game. You may have noticed throughout this video that I've had the Frye twins in various outfits. I'm not normally one for pissing around with skins. I'm usually happy to just play with the default, though I have got a soft spot for Ezio's costume. What can I say? Italian fashion, baby. The game has been given a 60 FPS update on the current gen consoles, and that's great. It's a much more responsive experience for it, and it feels great to play and it looks fantastic in motion, aside from anything to do with physics, because those objects will run at half frame rate. It is so distracting to have the game world looking fantastic in 4K, moving fluidly with 60 FPS, and then having bits of cloth stuttering off your character's arse. I tried to get around this by putting Evie and Jacob in outfits that have minimal flowing material, and for Evie, the Aveline costume from the underrated Assassin's Creed Liberation, this costume is the best, and it kind of fits. Makes Evie look like a modern pirate, or maybe just an acrobatic alky. For Jacob, it was making do with the Ezio costume and rationalizing it as, okay, that's distracting, but I'm decked out in Italian fashion, baby. And yeah, it's not ideal, and I guess the issue was always there, and it's not so much as an issue as it is a design necessity to get the game running better than Unity. This is one of the cutbacks, the safe plays that likely got made to ensure they wouldn't get finger blasted by Digital Foundry for frame rate crimes. It's not just character clothes, I've also noticed it's wheels on carts, and even the zipline you use to get around. It's all got a little uncomfortable, distracting judder. Maybe we can try and headcanon it as an animus quirk, a distraction technique by the Templars, but I don't think we should be overly critical. This is more just a heads up for those who've heard the holy words of Chris and are now in the process of getting Syndicate on their console. It's great, but it has this little problem. Get over it. Syndicate was the last time Assassin's Creed was properly Assassin's Creed, a game whose lineage could be traced right back to the start. You can see the different bits and pieces taken from what came before to build something better. Ironically, the backstory of the Assassin's Creed universe, which has also been fractured and left in limbo. Syndicate is a focused, stylish game that can be beat inside 30 hours, or you can spend upwards of double that if you really want 100% the thing. And it's reasonable that you would. It's a fun game to be a part of, a great story to follow, with brilliant characters, and a world that respects your time as a player. And you can even see that in the reasonable but challenging achievement list. It's the perfect evolution of the old formula, the peak of what the series had been building towards for almost a decade. But it arrived at the wrong time. It was a brilliant, handcrafted tuxedo in a world that suddenly decided the new fashion was off-the-rack fantasy armor. It was a game that stuck to the Assassin's Creed philosophy, before Ubisoft gave up and just started throwing the Assassin's Creed name on whatever their latest historical RPG number chaser is. If you're tired of the open world formula but don't want to break the habit completely, go back to Syndicate. Enjoy the freedom of the city but the structure of a story. Enjoy having plenty to do without being pulled into a second job. Enjoy Assassin's Creed as it will never be again. And that is the video. And look, there's more to watch. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I guess also hype is a new thing now. Is there a hype button? Press it. can't hurt. And give the bell icon a ding so you'll get notified whenever there's something new to watch. I've been Chris, you've been gorgeous, and I'll see you on the next one. Until then, cheers, my dears.